Hey everyone, welcome to I forgot the name of the show. Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Slushy. It's Phoenix.
And Cube.
Yeah, and we're still talking about Madoka. We're only halfway.
You can't stop us. We're gonna keep doing it. Well, after this, we'll be halfway. We're not even halfway yet. We gotta get going.
Yeah, that's true.
We're on episode 6. This just isn't right.
Is that what the episode's called?
Yeah.
Between these two episodes, I still obviously think that Madoka is a very well structured and paced show. But these two episodes might be the slowest point in the show in a sense.
There's definitely like the least to unpack, I feel like, because they're pretty straightforward. Besides, like the big revelation at the end of this one.
Yeah. Because like the end of this episode is where things start to kick up. But the actual, in terms of what actually, the scenes we get, even like the confrontation between like Sayaka and Kyoko we get in this one is broadly similar to the one we had in the last episode.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just sort of filling in things. There's little lore drops and stuff, but they're about to fight, and then Homura puts them off, and then by the end of the episode, they're about to fight again.
Yeah. And obviously other stuff happens, but you probably could have cleaned it up a bit. But speaking of which, so Homura knocks Sayaka out. That doesn't make any sense. Why can you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe while she wasn't looking, she like flicked the soul gem as well, which is what actually knocks you out.
If Sayaka knew about the soul gem situation, would she be able to be like, I am choosing not to be knocked out because I do not believe that would knock me out?
So it was just that she believed she was knocked out. That's what she's suggesting.
I think so.
It was psychosomatic unconsciousness.
Yes. That's my theory. Leave your theories in the comments below.
I do like that Homura, like, in order to deal with Kyoko, is like using intimidation. Again, with everyone in this show being more extra than they're willing to admit. Like, at least Mummy owned it, but everyone else is willing to be like a show off.
Yeah.
And Homura is obviously being a huge show off here, where she's just sort of popping around.
And she calls her by her full name just to be like, yeah, I know your fucking name, bitch.
Yeah. And she also like says something very similar to what Kyubei said about Homura. Where like Kyoko's like, have we met before? And she's like, perhaps not.
Yeah. Oh, so mysterious.
Yeah, she's having to be intimidating with Kyoko because she doesn't want to actually fight her. Because fighting her would mean pulling out a gun. But then when it comes to Sayaka, there's no point doing that. Just wang, down. It's chopped to the back of the neck, down you go. It's fine.
Yeah, I actually really like her relationship with Kyoko. I like that they kind of get along.
Yeah. She's the easiest to deal with in a sense. Like, Kyoko is a lot more pragmatic than Sayaka in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Homer is like, yeah, we can come to terms.
I can negotiate with you. I can offer you things, and you'll listen, as opposed to Sayaka, who just doesn't like me, so she's not going to listen to anything I have to say.
Right.
Like,
I do like how Kyubei has to be dramatically like, Akemi Homura, could you be ... Wow, interesting half-formed thought you have there, Kyubei.
Well, this is also the first episode where they actually start to like hint at what Homura's power is.
A bit.
A little bit, but this is the first episode where you see her stop time, and not stop time, but you see her like suddenly disappear. Every other time when she jumps around, it sort of happens slightly off screen, or it's done in a cut.
That's true.
Whereas at the end of this episode, when she runs off to get the soul gem, you actually see her just completely like she's gone, and that's the first time you see that.
Yeah, so it seems like she can teleport or something.
Was that the fan theory at the time?
I think a lot of people did think that, yeah. Or like a lot of people also guess time travel, but those were like the two major things. Either she can teleport or she can stop time or something. Yeah, either one had plenty of evidence for it. Actually, like the end of this episode, I think it would make more sense if she could only teleport. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So Sayaka's in a room purifying her soul gem.
Yeah, getting a little lore dump about how soul gems and grief seeds work. It's interesting how honest Kyubei is being with Sayaka about her deficiencies in a way that he never was before.
He's negging her because he wants her to be like, oh man, I sure can't do this on my own. I guess I better get Madoka in on this action.
Yeah, it's the first time he tells her that Madoka's really powerful and you should ask her. Which obviously at first she's not willing to do that, but...
There was an error in the dialogue actually in this scene originally when it aired because he called a grief seed a soul gem accidentally.
Oh.
He was talking about how Kyoko has a lot of soul gems instead of grief seeds, which is really funny because it was a quality control error on the scriptwriter's part, but it's also like that makes it seem like Kyubei had a slip of the tongue. I mean, no, they're totally different things. I swear.
Accidentally correct. That's
Yeah.
great.
But I know this. He also says if you tainted any further, a witch might hatch, which is like a line I'd completely forgotten and hadn't really thought about. That's a thing that you could do. Which that raises. I have a lot of logistical questions.
Well, they mentioned that with the in episode 2, when Mummy's explaining stuff, she mentions that with the soul gem that she has, and they're saying like they mention a witch can hatch out of this, but right now it's safe. And then she tries to give it to Homura and is saying, this is probably still good for one more use. So I guess in that sense, that's like, a not completely tainted one.
But they say like if you leave a grease seed alone, it'll hatch. But then if you put the stuff in it, it'll also hatch. So like, are there 2 ways for it to hatch? I don't know, man. Get your lore together.
Madoka logistics, they're not very like.
But also he has a fucking back hatch. I find that really funny.
Yeah, it is funny that it doesn't just like slide through or something. An actual hatch opens.
Yeah, in the movies they changed it so that like his back glows and the soul gem of the greasy goes into it, and it's like, oh man, I like the hatch. It's just so weird.
I like that being his actual mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as opposed to his weird
It's good shit.
pretend face. The next scene, which is Kyoko playing DDR.
I love it. It stands for dog drug reinforcement.
I was about to say, this is the first time I noticed that.
Yes.
What is that name? Why is it dog?
It's gotta be Inu Curry.
Well, I was going to say, the game looks very witchy.
Yeah.
The way the figures and stuff are drawn, other than the dancing girls, is But yeah, dog drug reinforcement.
Amazing. It's super stupid that it's like it's got 3 player pads and you can do the thing where you like play doubles except you play triples. That's silly. That's not practical. Come on, guys.
Hang on, I'm not a DDR buff. What is the difference between playing doubles or triples?
Well, there's no triples because like in a normal DDR cabinet you have like the 2 pads side by side, so you could do you could play 2 player.
Oh, okay.
But there's a special mode where it's single player, but you have to use both of them, and so it's like extra difficult.
Right.
And I so it's like I don't know if you could use all 3 or whatever. It's a little silly.
Okay.
As a DDR aficionado. Yeah, it's always funny seeing like fake DDR because a lot of times there will be like 8 arrows or like other kinds of ridiculous layouts.
I like diagonal arrows as well.
Well, off-brand DDR has only diagonal arrows. I forget what that's called. The shitty not DDR. But then, yeah, if you had all of them together, I don't know. I guess that could work. I think that'd be a fucking mess, though. At least the UI would be a goddamn mess. But anyway.
Anyway, this scene. I mean, yeah, it's Kyoko's practical. Like, she doesn't have any particular animosity towards Homura. I think part of it is that Kyoko doesn't mind Homura either.
Yeah, honestly, if I had to ship Homura with anyone, obviously, like she's, ride or die for Madoka. I get that, okay. But I like her dynamic with Kyoko. I think that'd actually be a decent ship. They get along well.
Yeah. And, like that interesting thing she says about how like Sayaka is not qualified to be a magical girl. And like Kyoko doesn't need any explanation. She gets that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're just trying to get this shit done together. And they're down.
It is also interesting that Kyoko does know Walpurgisnacht. Like,
yeah, so it's a known thing among magical girls.
Yeah. Like she asks, how do you know it's coming? She doesn't ask, what is that? And she's like, yeah, that'd be hard to defeat.
Yeah.
But that is, I mean, I think this is something you pointed out at some point as well, but the fact that like Kyoko is quite comfortable with the idea of 2 girls being able to fight it. But then, come Magia Record, apparently it's a threat to like 50 girls at once.
Yeah, that's so stupid. Even in like the show and some of the past timelines, it's like, oh, Madoka was barely able to beat her and then they died or whatever. That was like the first timeline. And then in Magia Record, it's like, oh fuck, they're bringing Walpurgisnacht up in here. And there's so many goddamn girls in that city. In that one room, there was like 200 girls. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and also like the girls in Kamihama are meant to be stronger as well than your average magical girl.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's silly.
Silly
show. That is interesting though, what you mentioned that Madoka dies in that first timeline. She doesn't witch. So what does that mean? Did her soul gem crack? Or how does that happen?
Yeah, I don't remember. I guess we'll have to revisit that in episode 10.
Yeah.
And everyone will tell us in the meantime.
Yeah, that's for the future. Anyway, the scene in the alley with Sayaka trying to track the familiar from last night.
Yeah, doing a very dramatic pose.
Yeah, like she's being overly dramatic at the start about how, it was a fight to the death. It's like, all right, buddy. Then this is the first sign of her stubbornness. like really being a problem.
Yeah.
You see her making the same assumption about Homura that Mummy did, that she's just like Kyoko.
Yeah.
And she's also when Madoka is just saying, "Look, maybe you could be friends, maybe you could work together," and she's just so set against that that she kind of goes out of her way to be a bit cruel to Madoka in this scene. What
Yeah.
she says about how it could come and kill your mother or your father or even your baby brother, would you want that? She has to know that that will really hurt Madoka, make her feel terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, the scene is definitely the first, like, oh, she's starting to lose it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do like how Madoka was like, maybe if mommy hadn't fought with Homura, it would have been okay. Like she's like, I think mommy kind of fucked up there. I'm coming to realize that mommy might have been real dumb in this particular arena.
And it's interesting how like Sayaka says, "Oh, Homura just waited till Mummy died," and obviously Madoka knows that isn't true. Madoka knows that Mummy deliberately tied Homura up so she couldn't help. So
Yeah.
that is a mistake that Sayaka could make, but she's only assuming that happened because she's making assumptions in the first place.
Yeah, that is one of those like kind of contrived anime misunderstandings. That's a little like, you should clarify that.
Yeah, Madoka could explain it, but it seems relatively clear that Sayaka's not going to listen anyway. So
Yeah, she's definitely in a bad headspace.
that brings me back to something from the first scene though. In terms of Homura only stepping in when she decides she wants to, I kind of assumed that Homura was watching the fight with Kyoko and Sayaka and didn't step in until there was a risk that Madoka might make a contract.
Yeah, if it just seemed like Sayaka was just gonna get the shit kicked out of her, like she's probably like, good, learn your lesson, dummy.
Or even like just die. Like, do you think, to some extent, do you think maybe she would have been okay with Sayaka just getting killed early on?
She mighta, because she does consider her a completely lost cause once she becomes a magical girl, so she's probably like, better for her to die quickly than for Madoka to suffer her becoming a witch.
Yeah, yeah, which is true. And it's because like later on she's like trying to help her, but it's only because she's trying to avoid the witching out as opposed to anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think she probably figured that if it came to like a life or death thing, she would have to jump in because she wouldn't let Madoka watch Sayaka die if she didn't have to.
You would assume.
I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she knows Cube's right there.
Well, yeah, too.
You won't pass up on that opportunity.
No. But she like it seems very clear she was listening to what they were talking about because like she comes in and says that won't be necessary. Which means, yeah, I know what you said.
Yeah, so for the rest of it, she's probably just like, yeah, Kyoko, you tell her how stupid and dumb she is.
She's up there with her own box of Pocky.
Yeah.
I do like as well, Sayaka walks off and Madoka's like, Cube, say something. And Cube says, all I could say to her is that she's being reckless. Obviously, I'm not going to say that.
I mean, what do you want from me? What you gonna do? She's not gonna listen to me.
You know who you should listen to? You should listen to another magical girl. You know what you could do. Oh, you're so one note, Cube.
What a flat character. Shake my head. Typical male character. It's time for Madoka's at home and Mama's home.
Yeah.
It's time for scene with Mama.
The Junko scene.
Yes.
I do like how Junko is there. She sort of functions as a measuring stick for like someone who actually cares about Madoka and and is sensible. What would they tell her to do? What's her advice like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, she's a good advice mama.
Yeah, but like as opposed to Kyube, who's obviously got an agenda, or Homura, who's obviously a bit messed up at this point, or Sayaka, who's an idiot. Like Junko's here to sort of be, here's a sensible person who really cares about Madoka, who can actually give her good advice.
Yeah. So this advice is a little like, is it good advice?
Well, I honestly do think it probably was good advice without the context of soul gems and how they function.
Of do not throw soul.
Yeah. Don't throw your friend away. But I think it is good advice in the sense of like Kyubei saying, oh, you could help if you also did what Sayaka did. Whereas Junko's right she's sort of mirroring what Homura said to some extent, which is you can't help her fix this herself. If she's stuck in this spiral.
Yeah, if she fully believes she's in the right.
Yeah, if she fully believes she's in the right and is completely stubborn, you can't get her out of this spiral. The only way you could do it would be to short circuit it.
You gotta do something a little wrong.
Yeah. I do like that there's that line at the end, what would be worse, to give up on your friend or to be misunderstood by her? And it's like, what other character in this show came to that conclusion?
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, this is about Homura.
It's amazing.
God damn it.
It's amazing the extent to which the show, like, Homura really is the main character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's Faust.
Like, she's Faust, but she's also, like, so many scenes are essentially about her. You realize later on that like there's so much of people talking about her when they're not talking about her.
Yeah, yeah,
It's sort of interesting. There's that line as well. Well, hurry and grow up super fast. It's like, oh,
yeah. Yeah, so we can have a drink together. Have you seen that super feelsy comic?
yeah, where Godoka comes down and talks to her passed out mum.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I would have been an adult today. Here's a drink together. Clink. And yeah, if you haven't seen that fan comic, it's an attack right in the feels. But Junko's still right. As difficult as it is, it's still more fun being an adult.
Yes, and you get alcohol.
Yeah.
I do love that thing of of course we're in pain all the time, but that's why we get booze. That's healthy.
Oh yeah, it was interesting. We were talking in the Discord about the whole like the fact that she's up in that salary man culture, and like some of the people were saying that they weren't familiar with that, so they were like, "Why is she? She otherwise seems like she's like this big go-getter, responsible person, but she's also just an alcoholic." And it's like, oh yeah, because like a Westerner might not know that that's just how fucking being a salary man works, and it's bullshit.
If your boss says we're going drinking, you have to go drinking, and you have to match him drink for drink or
Yeah,
her.
that's how you move up in the world.
Yeah, so you don't get a choice.
But Saga's, she's going to greet Kamijo, but oh no, he was released. Better go to his house. Oh, he's playing the violin. That's nice. Kyoko alert.
I do. What's funny about Sayaka? Like you joked about, maybe Sayaka prefers him being wounded and needing care,
Yeah.
and Kyoko makes that that sort of thing too. But like, she did seem a little disappointed when he wasn't in hospital anymore, and then once he's
Mm-hmm.
home, she's not as willing to just go in and say hello. And it's like, what's that about?
Yeah, she's like so used to their relationship being defined in this way that she isn't like ready to, I don't know, like adjust to this new dynamic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably what it is. I don't think she actually is like Kyoko suggests.
No.
Would prefer if he was completely dependent.
She's not actually yandere.
No.
She's only tsundere.
I do like, again, with this thing of this character's just actually speaking out their beliefs, followed by taking it further into like the things they need to believe in order to survive.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what Kyoko does here.
I like that she knows the whole situation with Kamijo, which like Kyubey must have told her that, right? It's like, hey, check out this bitch. Look what she gave her for wish for.
Yeah, that's the only way she could know.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Kyubey just being like, hey, you want to hear what she wished about?
He loves the gossip. He loves the drama.
Yeah.
Like, he literally does love the drama. It gets him more grip seats.
Oh, yeah.
I love how often Kyoko is introduced in these first two episodes with like a close up on her mouth eating something with the fang.
Oh, yeah, you got the thing.
They do it over and over again. Just to remind you, hey.
It's very intimidating and dramatic.
Yeah, she's the character with a fang. So you know what that means. She's bad.
Ooh.
But yeah, like the speech starting off with, wishes that you make for someone else always turn out bad. That's what happened to her. You should only wish for yourself. Well, that's what she's come to believe. Hey, what if you go be a psycho yandere? Okay, well, this is just what you need to believe now at this point, isn't it?
Bit much. And I do like that she says, like, didn't mommy at least teach you that much? And I'd actually forgotten. It's like, oh yeah, so the show did pretty much establish that she knew mommy, at least like to a decent extent.
Yeah, and the other thing is, mummy did warn her about that.
Oh yes, she did.
And you almost wonder if that, like, the reason mummy thought that was because of Kyoko.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Like, she'd seen what happened when someone made a wish for someone else and how it turned out bad.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how much of that they were thinking, but it all does, like, fit together surprisingly well.
Yeah.
This is why the different story worked so well as a manga, prequel manga.
Mm.
Madoka is fucking translating "Hey Diddle Diddle" for homework. And that is the most bullshit thing. Like, the idea of making a Japanese young person translate that fucking weird-ass poem, and they would be convinced they were translating it wrong. That's like trolling.
Yeah, you'd think you'd got it wrong.
Yeah, the cat jumped over the moon? That can't be right.
Even just hey diddle diddle.
Yeah, those are words.
Diddle diddle must have just been written in like katakana, right? Or hiragana.
Yeah.
Like, you can't write that in kanji, can you?
No. But yeah, what do you translate that as? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that Kyubi comes to get there and is like, hey, Madoka, shit going down.
Hey, you should come and, maybe a contract and shit.
And, I was saying, your friends are fighting on a fancy ass overpass.
Okay, so this overpass, right? Now, what annoys me, there's the steps up, and then there's like the main spa going across. But then there's like two sections that go further out. There's two wider sections. Why would anyone ever walk along those sections? They're just longer.
I didn't notice that.
Like, what is the point of those sections?
Just to take a load off.
There's like if you wanna sit down and watch the cars on the highway,
Yeah.
who wants to do that?
Just enjoy this nightmare city.
Just really soak in some of the fucking carbon monoxide.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
They're gonna fight. Oh no.
Good henshin. Pretty good henshin.
Yeah, very, not sexy or whatever. Very good and straightforward. I think her later henshin is cooler.
I do like as well that she has a bit of Mami in her. Like, she finishes with a pose. She doesn't need to do that.
You gotta finish with the pose.
But then, like, again, Homura proves she's got a bit of Mami in her as well. When, like, Kyoko's like, oh, annoying people should have annoying friends. And then Homura's just suddenly behind her. So, what sort of friends do you have?
That was fucking cute. They have such a good dynamic. I like that.
It's such a burn, though.
But she's her friend. That's like how I took that. Like it's like, oh, what's that say about your, allies like me? Was that an unintentional dunk against me, Homura?
I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, it's kind of funny.
That feels more like a self burn in that case. Because it's basically Homura saying,
Yeah.
your friend is me, and look at me, I'm a fucking weirdo.
Oh, yeah, she's like saying like, "What you saying about me, bitch?" I don't know. I just think it's really cute that she teleports behind her to say that.
Yeah, and that she also finds a fancy way to say no friends.
Yeah.
But they're all show offs. Again, Mami was at least the one who owned it. Mami was the one who really like got off on being like a out and open show off, whereas the others all talk about it being different, but they're all fucking show offs too.
Look, I think some of that is just if you're in a Shaft anime, you can't not.
Of course. I do think that's also like they don't do it as much when things are more not like a regular magical girl show.
That's true. Yeah, they'll have more fun when they feel like it's more appropriate to do so.
Yeah, and like this is the fight with the mid-season Mahu, like this is absolutely a thing that happens in a magical girl show. So we can do transformations and poses and shit.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get that fight.
Nah, you're not.
Yeah, Sayaka doesn't even get to transform. Madoka's here. No, I'm gonna throw your soul.
Yeah, and she does. And this is the 6 episodes in. This is the first big reveal. Like it's not the first big twist, but it's like obviously that was Mummy, but this is the first big like, okay, this is different.
Yeah. And I like that Cube, fucking little dick, like, he knows they don't know that, but he's still like, oh, how could you just throw your friend away like that? And it's like, Cube, you little fucker.
Yeah, the way he talks here, like, you see people talk about the idea of them being aliens and having alien logic, and so they just don't think the way we do. But he is 100% being disingenuous here.
Oh, yeah.
He goes as far as saying he knows this upsets people when he tells them, but like he still refers to it as ripping your soul out, at least in the translation. And then going like, why? What? Isn't it better? Isn't it better that you like your soul's separate now and you're just a corpse? I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? Like, all he's doing here is trying to push the despair along. That's all he's doing.
He's like a YouTube skeptic or something. He's like, what? I just owned you with facts and logic. What's your problem?
Yeah. He is such a fucking YouTube skeptic. But the trouble is, I feel like that's not actually what he's doing. Like, he doesn't actually think that way. He knows, like, he would have told them all of this stuff up front if he actually thought it wasn't a problem.
Oh yeah, he's full of shit.
Yeah, and if he wasn't telling them because he knows it upsets them, he wouldn't have told it to them now in the way that he did. He would have tried to cushion it or something. Like,
yeah.
he's completely full of shit.
And he's always exasperated. I feel like that's the most, like, if you want to read his character in the most, like, consistent possible way, he doesn't like dealing with these humans. And, he's always like, I just don't get it or whatever. And it's like, it's not that he doesn't actually get it. It's just that he fucking hates them.
Yeah. He finds the whole process frustrating.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's actually doing in this scene, I think he is just trying to, they're going to find this out now, so this may as well time to, step on the accelerator.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell Sayaka all of this. She's going to witch out. Going to move along.
No, yeah, that's true. It does help him if they freak out now. That's fine.
Yeah.
We got Madoka here.
Yeah, and like while Sayaka's going to freak out, she's probably going to do something stupid that's going to help me push Madoka along, which is the goal in the end. So, yeah.
Aw, yeah.
I feel like that's all he's actually up to, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that Homura doesn't just immediately return the soul gem instantly is a little bit of a hand wave for the sake of making this more dramatic. Because, like, how does that work?
Well, this is one of the things about her magic that I find confusing sometimes. Like, she can't just stop time indefinitely, can she?
So I guess the idea is that the truck got so far away, but the way that it's animated doesn't really feel like that.
No, and the other thing is that, like, when you see her sort of transporting as she's running after the truck, she doesn't get very far in, like, the time she stopped time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like, she stops time and changes lanes. That's all it seems like she's doing.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit like that's not properly conveying what was probably meant to be happening there.
Yeah, like, she should be, like, suddenly popping 100 meters along the road.
Yeah.
In which case, I can understand, like, okay, she can stop time for in her time space, like, 10 seconds. And getting after the truck actually did take a bit out of her. Because like, when you see her picking up the soldier and once she's on top of the truck, she seems puffed, like, or sort of worn out.
Yeah, she did have to run all that way.
Yeah, yeah. After a truck that would have been going full speed, you assume.
Right.
But yeah, the way it's animated does confuse things.
Yeah, it seems like she stopped time for like 5 seconds, and it's like, "No, just stop time for a little longer. You
Yeah.
can do it. I
assu
believe in you."
Assuming she can do that, which I have always wondered about whether or not she can how long can she stop time for? How exactly does that work?
I assume that's a little inconsistent for the sake of, anime production. Because when she in a few episodes, when she stops time when Sayaka first witches out, and she, wants Kyoko to come with her and leave Sayaka's body behind, she stops time for quite a while there.
Mm.
So, rah, rah, rah. Anime canceled. It's actually bullshit.
Maybe it's one of those things where, like, the longer she holds it for, the more effort it takes. So, like, but if she does it in, like, little short bursts, it's not as draining.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's like weightlifting or something. How doing a rep is easier than, like, holding it in place for ages or something.
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. This is me making excuses, not the show ever
Yeah.
explains this.
But the important thing is, she returned her soul.
Yeah, and she wakes up. Nani?
Yeah. Oh, but in the meantime, they had the whole conversation, and of course, Kyoko's all pissed, and I do like that she's like, "What? So we're zombies?" And it's like, oh, they're allowed to say the zombie word, unlike actual things about zombies. They're really more of liches.
Well, okay, so what's the difference?
No, a lich is like a they have like a, oh god, I forget what you call it. Wait, I'm gonna have to look it up so that the nerds don't get mad at me. But they actually have like a thing that's like their soul. Is it a relinquery? Oh my god, a phylactery.
Phylactery. Oh, yeah, I've heard it before.
Yeah, using spells or rituals to bind his intellect and soul to his phylactery, and thereby achieving the form of immortality. So it's like actually very close to a lich, except they don't look like zombie skeleton people.
No, yeah. And I mean, and zombies is a nice shorthand for we're undead, essentially.
Okay, so I have occasionally heard the take that the girls overreact to the idea of what has happened to them here because from a practical standpoint it's fine and it's not a big deal, and there it doesn't seem like it functionally affects your life a whole lot if it doesn't have to. But that's I don't truck with that. You just found out that you just died for a bit because your soul is in a little rock now, and you didn't agree to this, and you don't know what it means, and I think it's pretty fucked up, and I think it's right that they would be fucked up about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very subtle form of body horror.
Yeah.
It's basically you are not human anymore. You're something else. And so, yeah, as you say, it's not something you agreed to. It's a shock.
Yeah, it's like, what does it mean that like you like look at this little rock and it's just like I'm in there?
That's one of the first shots in the next episode that was one of the ones that really stuck with me in Madoka, is the one of Sayaka hiding under her sheets, just staring at the soul gem.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, it is. And to counter that argument to some extent as well, it sort of depends on the person, because Kyoko does sort of seem to come to terms with it a bit.
Yeah.
Later on, she's not that bothered. She keeps eating. Like she steals apples, like way too many apples.
I think, yeah, she's more worried by the fact that Sayaka became a witch and stuff.
Yeah.
That's more fucked up.
The idea that you might eventually become a witch is obviously scarier, which is why they do them in this order. But I think it's perfectly reasonable to be freaked out by that. Even if you personally, being someone who's just like Hubei and probably has a YouTube channel, thinks that it's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I would maybe agree to those terms personally, but I wouldn't expect any young person to be like, hey, great, I love what I just found out about my bod.
Yeah, and you might agree to those terms up front.
Yes.
Because this is part of Sayaka's whole problem, is that she had this lofty idea of what being a magical girl was that was somewhat encouraged by Mami. And, every time she goes out, the rest of her very short life is just having that image punctured over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Sayaka in particular, there's a reason that this doesn't truck with her is because it just goes against everything she was hoping and expecting to get out of this.
And also, like, as much as Kyubey is like, well, it's just more practical to have it in this, little thing because human bodies are so fragile. It's like, yeah, well, Soul Gym it's just a fucking little rock. Shit can happen to that little rock.
And it's also like, even that part of it is disingenuous too, because it isn't actually about protecting girls as they fight witches. It's about turning girls into witches.
That's true.
That's the actual end goal. Like, it's got fuck all to do with the rest of what he was saying. He's not actually like thinking of their efficiency and their ability to fight witches and protecting them. It's not about protecting them.
Yeah, it almost feels like that's just what happens.
Yeah. It's almost an excuse in a sense.
Yeah.
That he's using before he has to tell them the entire truth. So once again, he's full of shit.
Oh yeah, it's like I do like that there's I don't know if they even intended it as an out, but like he claims to not have emotions or his species doesn't have emotions, but he says like, among my species it's considered like a disease. So it's like, okay, he has that disease. He won't admit it, but he does.
Maybe that's why he works with humans.
Yeah.
He's better able to understand them.
Or we got to him. Maybe like he was more pragmatic before, but he just hung out around us too long, and he's like, ugh, now I've learned the emotion of exasperation.
It could also be like a Vulcan thing where we consider it a disease.
Yeah.
Like it's completely a cultural thing.
But then they could have trained themselves to not, and then they could have figured out the heat death of the universe shit by themselves. You dinguses.
Yeah.
Let's kill Kyubey. But yeah, this was another pretty straightforward episode.
Yeah, things get
just good old magical girl hijinks.
Oh yeah, just good fun times.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys next week for episode 7.
Yeah, have a good week. Do not throw soul.
Do not throw your friends away.
Wow.
Wow.